Well, I'm curious too. I mean, a lot of this is a pretty thick book for. You were 12 when you read this, weren't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Also, I got that the wrong way. There we go. But yeah, so you were 12. I mean, most 12-year-olds can't read. Well, most adults can't read a book this big.
I read 50 pages a
50
day.
to 100 pages and it feels like nothing. You know what I mean?
I read like 50
Hmm.
pages a day, like every day.
Oh, wow.
I was really
That
into it.
is-
Hello, blazing readers. This is John C.A. Manley with Much Ado About Corona. No, I'm not. I'm just not with it. I actually wrote it, as you probably know, because that's probably how you know who I am and why you're here. And another person who has a copy and has read it and was read it when he was only 12 years old is who I'm interviewing today. I have an interview I did with Manuel Antonio Gutierrez. I gotta pronounce it right. I've been practicing. Manuel Antonio Gutierrez Toccalino. It's a Spanish Italian name, so I kind of tried to make my accent Spanish and Italian at the same time. Now, as you can see and probably know, this book is not thin. It's 500 pages. So I was very impressed when I heard that a 12-year-old boy in Colombia, Colombia, was reading it, and not only reading it, had completed reading it. So what happened basically, Manuel was born in Canada, but at 5 years old, his family moved to Colombia, where his father was from. And while he was there, I guess, when he was 12, let's fast forward 7 more years, his grandmother from Canada came to visit him, and she brought him a copy of this book, which he ended up reading and enjoying and liking. And he sent me this video after he read it.
I loved your book. I honestly thought it was really cool. It explained a lot what happened in 2022. Yeah, I was never really a big fan of COVID. Never thought it was really existed. And when I read your book, I was really like amazed. I really loved how direct it was about how like people should just be more like themselves when it comes to putting on a mask and just like yeah trying to show more like your face, like showing how happy you are when you're happy and how sad you are when you're sad, showing how people can be happy, like put good smiles, all that people really want to see. It's a really good idea to make this book. I really hope it does well, but I hope I can get to read the second part of this book. Please tell me when you're finished. Thanks.
Well, that made me want to meet him, so I contacted his mother, Angela, and we arranged to have a video chat. What follows is a condensed version. The full interview was probably 90 minutes, so I've brought it down to about 1 hour of the best stuff, where we're going to be talking about his experience and what he liked, and I don't think he told me anything he disliked. Well, actually, I think he had a few little points. Um, about Much Ado About Corona, his favorite characters. He has some really good observations about how the first two parts of the novel contrast the last three parts, which I think people will enjoy. And then we tie it into one of my favorite Italian films because I was quite conscious of that issue with the novel. It was, I'm not sure I'd say I purposely did it, but I did work with it once I realized that's how it was turning out. And like I said, it worked for one of my favorite Italian films, which we'll reveal in the video. And let's see, what else did we talk about? Oh, yeah, we talked quite a bit about life in Colombia, about the vaccine mandates and how people were able to avoid it to some degree down there. And also, we get into an interesting point about life down there is that apparently they didn't have the level of excess deaths and injuries that we saw in Canada, United States, most of the western, eastern parts of the world, like the whole world, maybe except places in Antarctica and Africa. And I heard not many people up in Greenland and Iceland had a lot of issues with the vaccine. But, anyways, in Colombia, they just didn't have the level of excess deaths and the level of injuries that we're seeing in other places. And they have a very interesting idea, well, several ideas about why that might be. Oh yeah, and another thing we talk about is the mask mandate and how both Angela and her son Manuel refused to wear a mask as much as they possibly could, and have some fun stories about what happened with that. Because apparently, even in the mountains and the rural part of Colombia, the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates, and the medical tyranny still found its way. So it's kind of shows to some degree there's no point trying to run from these things. You got to go face them because they're going to find you. Even in a beautiful tropical paradise like you'll see that Manuel lives in. Now, I need to warn you, the interview contains quite a lot of spoilers, so if you haven't read the book, you might just want to go read the book first. Since in order to see the full version of this video, you have to actually own a copy of the book. But either way, if you're just watching the trailer, I'm not going to spoil too much, but if you're going to watch the full thing, I put at the bottom of the screen spoiler alert, so you know to fast forward. Or you can hit pause, go read the whole book, and then unpause. It is a thick book, as we discussed, so it will probably take you about 20 hours to read, so it's a long time to pause a video. Now, for just those of you who are like really detailed orientated, as you'll hear in this video, Manuel is 13 because he had aged, a phenomenon that happens to most little boys, since he had read the book when he was 12. So that's why he read the book when he was 12, and that's how I'm promoting the video. But in the interview, he has become a teenager. And like I said, he has some pretty neat things to say. He gets into very surprising analysis of the villain of the story. Surprising coming from a 13-year-old's appreciation for the psychological torment that the villain was going through was impressed me. It makes me feel good to know that a 13-year-old can, one, read a book this big, two, understand it and have a 1-hour discussion about it, and I really appreciate the message behind it. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to the full interview with Angela and Manuel from the mountains of Colombia.
Hi, Don.
Hello.
Hi, Manuel. Hi,
Hi.
Angela.
How are
Wow.
you?
I'm okay. How about you?
Doing well, thanks.
You're Canadian, correct? And you were born in Colombia, is that correct? All right.
No, he's born in Canada as well. We moved
Oh,
here
you were
when
born in
Manuel
Canada.
was 5. Yeah,
So you moved here when you were how old?
5.
5. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So did you learn English first and then Spanish, or how did that work?
Yeah, we still speak just English in the house, so it's there.
Someone doesn't know how to speak Spanish
Well,
correctly.
I'm learning. But yeah, no, we speak English in the house, and they've always had English in the house, so it's their first
Okay.
language. Mhm.
Hablo un poco de español. Ay.
Yeah.
Sí, qué chévere.
Cada día estoy leyendo un libro en español con mi hijo. So,
Sí, qué chévere.
yeah, I used to live in Italy, so Italian wasn't such a stretch to Spanish.
Nice.
So,
I really want to go to Italy.
Me too.
Yeah.
well, it's funny when I was in Mexico before COVID for about 40 days, and everyone said I spoke Spanish with an Italian accent.
Oh, really?
Really?
So I don't know. I don't know if that was good or bad. It's better than being told I spoke it with an English accent. So I thought.
Right. Yeah.
So did you? I guess your English was pretty. You pretty much were English speaking till you moved to Colombia, and then you learned Spanish when you got to Colombia, Manuel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Do you remember Canada much?
Yeah, I remember a lot of it. Although I've heard some new stuff about the COVID and how it's like they overreact over there.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
that was the interesting part of the book, to sort of get an idea of the reality of Canada.
Yeah.
Because, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it was bad here too, but not to the same extent, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious to know how bad it got in Colombia. Is it feel like it's done now there, or is there still
Here,
people going around with masks?
We
Or
still see people wearing masks just because I think they're in fear mode, or
But there's
brainwashed fear mode.
Most people don't wear masks anymore.
Most people are not wearing
They don't
masks.
care.
No, most people are not concerned anymore.
yeah.
But you still hear some people like, oh yeah, so and so got COVID, and they're still buying that whole story.
Yeah, no one gets the cold anymore. It's just been called COVID
No.
now.
Cold and flu don't exist anymore. No.
Did they
Yeah,
push the
very
vaccine much there?
They did actually push it
Well-
as well here, but the thing is
It's just that where we live, it's not that much like.
but really essentially
Oh.
they were like saying, oh, you needed to go to the movie theater, you need it, and most people, if they wanted to like go to their jobs, depending on if it was a public service job or whatever, had to have it.
Although where we live, like in this particular part of the city, there's not a lot of pushing it because we're in the countryside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we're in the countryside, so we're, a little bit removed, but you could, like, I knew what was going on out there. And even they had some vans coming out to the countryside to do free vaccine clinics for all the country folk.
Hooray.
So, but I think actually the benefit is that this country doesn't have the means to sort of keep them at the really freezing temperatures that they have to be kept.
Okay.
And so a lot of the bad components that, I don't know what exactly was in there, but I think that we're not seeing as many side effects here as you are in Canada, because I think that there was some element there that was off,
Mhm.
that was for the better of the people, like luckily, for them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, some people are having problems, but you're not seeing the same amount of, side effects.
Are you in
happen.
homeschooled or in school, Manuel?
Well,
Up until this year, they were homeschooled, and then by their own choice, because they wanted to like study with other kids, they started going to school this year, and they're adjusting well. But they're aware of the indoctrination camp aspects of it, and like that there's a lot of lies that they're being taught.
50% of it's lies.
Yeah, a lot of lies. So they're aware of that though. So they've had the good foundation, and now they're going into the system, and we'll see how it goes. It's going okay so far, right?
Yeah,
Why?
it is.
What are the lies that you would say, Manuel, that they're teaching you? Because you said 50%, so that's like everything, half of what they
Let's talk about
say.
history, science. I think that pretty much math is good, probably. Languages are good, and the rest of it is like, I don't know.
Kind of like
I mean, even
teaching-
environmental science is all, the climate narrative and all. I mean, everything is lies. I'd say probably 70% of what they're learning. But, it's the lies that we live by in society. So you got to kind of know what the lies are if you're going to be existing in this situation, right?
Yeah. Although my school is a really like it's really down to the nature kind of school.
That's right, which is something I really like about it, is that they emphasize permaculture. So that's one of the things that they're teaching, and that when they end, when they graduate, they will have this sort of specialty in agriculture and permaculture. So that's pretty cool.
Why do you want to be a farmer, Manuel?
No, but it's like they are teaching us some pretty interesting stuff. Like,
and that it's important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all understand that the food system is being poisoned, and that it's important to be able to grow your own food,
yeah.
right? Which is why we moved here, and why we like bought this land that we live on. We have a really big land here. It's a beautiful property. Here, I can show you a little of our surroundings. It's just,
Yeah, that's not shabby.
you can see the city is way back in the distance there.
Mhm.
And these are just, like we're surrounded by forest and mountains. And yeah, so we have like 4 hectares here, and we're trying to do a bit of a permaculture project or a self-sustainable project slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been back to Canada, Manuel, since you left when you were 5?
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah, around 2018, I went back to Canada to visit for like a month, and I came back. Although we haven't visited in a long time because someone doesn't want to go.
I don't blame her.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. I don't know. The whole idea of traveling now just doesn't appeal to me. And also their passports have expired, so it's kind of an ordeal.
So if you don't want to be a farmer, Manuel, do you know what you have any big career plans?
I want to study massage for my mom. She's in the
Oh.
masseuse.
He
But
wants to apprentice my Thai massage skills, but that's not. I don't think that's what you. But what else would you want to do with your career? He's very good. He has a natural talent for massaging.
NBA. I would want to be an NBA player.
Wants to be an NBA star.
Oh, so
And
so
what
an
else? He also has a very,
NBA
like,
player, masseuse. That's an interesting combo. So a lot of your fellow players might need your services as a masseuse after the game, but
Oh yeah, we get knowledge to have as an athlete. But also, you had an interest in like maybe engineering of some sort.
Oh yeah. I think mechanical engineering is cool. I like to see how they build cars, for example. So yeah.
oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm curious too. I mean, a lot of this is a pretty thick book for you were 12 when you read this, weren't you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I got that the wrong way. There we go. But yeah, so you were 12. I mean, most 12-year-olds can't read. Well, most adults can't read a book this big.
The biggest book I read was 964 pages. So
Which
Which
one?
one
How
was
much
that?
is this one? Yeah, I think he read the whole Harry Potter series. I think one of those books was really long, right?
Yeah, but when you put them all together, it's pretty big, anyways. What other
Yeah.
books have you read? I'm curious to know what other kind of books you've read. So
I read Harry Potter. I read a lot of facts books, like books that have
Mhm.
facts in them. Like,
Yeah, like
Nonfiction.
nonfiction.
yeah, like
But also, like, you read some
oh yeah,
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory
Yeah.
and
Charlie-
I don't know, some of those young kid books.
do you read all your books
Back
in
in the
English or
day.
anything in Spanish?
in Spanish and in English because my mom wants me to read a lot of English books, but my dad wants me to read a little bit more Spanish books so that I can, And I'm doing pretty well in the reading thing because at school I'm like a Canadian that can read just as fast as more than half of my classmates.
Well, honestly, I find it easier to read in Spanish than English. It's so phonetic. Like English is like you give me a new word in English, I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce it. I got to go look it up. Spanish, I can read anything in Spanish. It's just knowing what I'm saying all the time. It's
That is just like that. Yeah.
How you say it, you like.
It's
Like-
pretty good, clear rules
Yeah.
of pronunciation in Spanish. Yeah, English is very confusing with all the changes, all the different ways of all the
Well,
different vowel sounds.
It's kind of a mesh between German, French, and Celtic languages, and then some Latin's thrown
Really?
in, and then I think it was all put together by people who were drunk at the time, and
Yeah.
And somehow it became the international language.
Well, maybe you can do the Spanish
What?
translation for me, Manuel.
Oh, maybe that'd be fun.
Hey,
Yeah, actually, that'd be fun.
yeah.
John.
Yeah.
So the ending. Well, not the ending. The last part of the book. It was a little bit interesting. Like, it was a big turn of events. It's like, so, like, yeah, I'm not sure. It's like at first I thought it was like going pretty smoothly, and like for them they were doing well, but then he had to go to.
For your protection, I'll stop the video right there, as our discussion gets deep into spoiler territory. To find out more about the novel, get a sneak preview of the opening chapter, or to purchase your own copy, go to muchadoaboutcorona.com. Once you purchase a copy, forward your receipt to me at john@blazingpinecone.com, and I'll give you immediate access to the full interview. Plus, you'll also receive any other bonus material I release that has to do with the novel.